I spent the past 4 days diving into one of the most twisty, turny, and depraved rabbit holes that I have ever dared to venture down into. The Charlie Kirk assassination was disturbing, but somehow things got even more insane the deeper I went into this investigation. I'm talking a transgender lover, the Groyper Wars, 4chan meme culture, femboys and furries, Candace Owens, Israel hit conspiracy, and more. I bet you were the first in your bloodline to hear that sentence. If you've ever thought that you were chronically online, think again. I used to too. But after spending the past 4 days researching this assassination, I realized that I had no idea what chronically online even means. Because nothing could prepare me for the sheer absurdity of what I found. Some evidence seems to suggest that this wasn't just a murder. It might have been a pro-transgender hit carried out like a literal shitpost written in bullets. But others are whispering that this is just a distraction, that Charlie Kirk's views on Israel earned him enemies high up in the government, and that he was silenced by his own team. And there are some shady things about this that really had me wondering if there's more sinister layers to unpack in this story. And today we're gonna break down all of it, from notice his bulge, ooh, what's this? To the text between suspect Tyler Robinson and his transgender roommate lover, to why Israel and Valhalla Farm at Goat Island are trending. This is an absolutely wild ride that you do not want to miss, with some of the craziest turns coming in hot at the very end. Also, I'm doing a giveaway of this print of a UFO themed oil painting I did when I reached 1,000 subs, so stay tuned for a video on how to enter the giveaway coming after this episode. And I'm new, so please subscribe and like this video and tell me your thoughts on this in the comments. I really want to hear your guys' opinions on this crazy case because I did such a deep dive, but I know there's still something out there I'm missing, so tell me what you think. And I just want to preface all of this by saying that this episode is not about me sharing my opinions. This is me sharing the narratives and evidence that are spreading like wildfire across social media and news outlets so that you can form your own opinion about what the hell is going on. I'm Shelby and this is Chill Seeker. Okay, let's go. Okay, so let's start with the bullet casings. When investigators collected them, they found engravings of literal memes. On the casing from the bullet that is rumored to have actually killed Charlie Kirk, police found, quote, notice his bulges, ... ooh woo, what's this? A phrase lifted from a furry role-playing sex joke that circulated on 4chan back in 2013. I'm showing the meme now, and it's been used both to make fun of furries, but also within the furry community. And if you don't know what a furry is, they're basically people who like to dress up in animal costumes for sexual gratification, among other things. There are full-on furry conventions. But anyway, the next bullet casing was engraved with the lyrics to Bella Ciao, a World War II anti-fascist anthem that is used in a lot of different video games. The next casing carried a taunt, "Hey fascist, catch," scrawled alongside arrows from a video game called Helldivers, where that command would call in a large bombardment. But these arrows also became a popular meme, again, that was basically used to say, big problems require big solutions, so call in the biggest bomb, right? The last casing had the words, "If you're reading this, you're gay, LMAO," which sounds more like something you'd see on the bathroom stall of a middle school than evidence from a political assassination. But anyway, these memes were essentially the killer's manifesto. Internet troll humor mixed with real-world terrorism. And the question everyone is asking now is, why? What does it all mean? Many public figures jumped to blaming the left for this shooting, theorizing that because Charlie Kirk was a conservative, that the left would have had the most reason to want him dead. Terms like trans Antifa and trans terror network have even been thrown around. But there was a lot of confusion because the actual evidence started out pretty murky. The suspect's grandmother came out and said in an interview that their entire family is MAGA Trump supporters, and that not a single one of them is a Democrat. The Guardian news outlet also issued a correction after publishing a claim that Robinson was, quote, left on everything, which apparently, according to their sources, couldn't be confirmed since they later had to retract it. But more information was released alleging that his parents said he was in fact becoming more liberal in recent years, going against the beliefs of the rest of his family and especially his dad. It's also worth noting that he wasn't registered with any political party and hadn't voted at all in recent elections, which just kind of makes you wonder if this isn't as black and white as just a left versus right issue. But here's where the story takes a darker turn. While public figures like Donald Trump, Nancy Mace, and Elon Musk were pointing the finger at Democrats in general, public speculation on the left turned to one of the most infamous and disturbed corners of the internet: the Groypers. So, why were people online linking Tyler Robinson to this group? Is there any truth to this at all, or is it just something being shared by people on the left trying to distance themselves from this crime? Let's get into the facts. Now, if you don't know what a Groyper is, here's the short version. They're Nick Fuentes' army of far-right trolls. They use a frog meme avatar called Groyper, a variant of Pepe the Frog, as their mascot, and they thrive on irony, absurdity, and provocation. Fuentes himself is a Catholic nationalist and self-proclaimed incel who spent years cultivating a dedicated following of young men who feel alienated and angry with society and the establishment. You might know Fuentes for famously saying, "Your body, my choice forever," about women and Roe v. Wade being overturned. Or that dating women is gay, which he has repeatedly stated on his various live streams. And the reason why this is important is that back in 2019, the Groypers literally declared war on Charlie Kirk. And it's not an exaggeration. That year, Groypers showed up to Kirk's Turning Point USA events and ambushed him during Q&As with extreme questions about Israel, immigration, and LGBTQ rights. Questions designed to humiliate him and basically force him to expose himself as too moderate. What followed became known as the Groyper Wars. Kirk became their punching bag, their enemy, the conservative who was not conservative enough. So, when Charlie Kirk was assassinated and the bullet casing engravings released, the internet immediately lit up with people theorizing that the shooter was a Groyper. But things may not be what they seem. Let's talk about Tyler Robinson. Within a day and a half of the shooting, police identified and arrested the 22-year-old Utah man. The way it happened was almost surreal. After the chaos at Utah Valley University, grainy surveillance footage of the rooftop shooter circulated. And it wasn't facial recognition software or some high-tech dragnet that caught him. It was his own father. His dad saw the images, recognized him, and convinced his son to turn himself into the FBI. Investigators say that the whole thing wasn't spontaneous. Tyler drove to the campus hours before the event, brought disguises to change outfits, and found a rooftop vantage point overlooking the stage. He waited until Kirk was mid-speech to fire a single shot, hitting him in the neck and then vanishing into the chaos. The FBI says that DNA on a towel wrapped around the rifle and on a screwdriver left at the scene matches Robinson, and that he effectively confessed in a private Discord. More on that later. According to FBI Director Kash Patel, police also found a note where Tyler had written something along the lines of, quote, "I have the opportunity to take Charlie Kirk out, and I'm going to take it." In other words, this was intentional, political, and targeted. Now, as the details started to emerge, people on the left side of the internet claimed that Tyler Robinson seemed to fit the Groyper profile. He was a young white man from a conservative Utah family, grew up around guns, and had an online history with memes and in-jokes. An old Halloween photo allegedly showed him dressed as a Slavic squat Groyper meme, which some people took as evidence of his immersion in that online culture. But other people pointed out that the Slavic squat meme had a life of its own before turning into a Groyper meme, and that Groypers didn't even really exist in 2017 when the photo was taken. And then, of course, there were the shell casings themselves, dripping with references straight out of 4chan's playbook, the same place that birthed the Groyper culture. But while a Bella Ciao remix was on a Groyper Wars playlist, when you look a little further, only a few people even followed this playlist. So maybe this really was just a reference to the song itself and nothing to do with Groyper culture. The same could also be said about the other engravings. While some of these memes may have originated in these circles on 4chan, they also took on a life of their own far beyond the platform. Now, as I was digging into TikToks and YouTube recaps, I started seeing the term horseshoe politics mentioned a lot. The idea that if you go far right enough or far left enough to the extremes, they both start to blend into something unrecognizable but similar. This theory posits that Robinson may have hated Kirk not because he wasn't far right enough or because of his conservatism in general, but specifically because of his anti-transgender rhetoric alone. Robinson had a trans partner, and in breaking news, the texts between his biologically male roommate/lover were released by the police. According to Utah Governor Spencer Cox, this person's name was Lance Twiggs, and they are in the process of transitioning from male to female. I have a picture of the text on the screen right now, but I'll read through some of the most interesting parts. At one point, Robinson said to his lover, quote, "Drop what you were doing, look under my keyboard." Underneath it was a note. It said, "I had the opportunity to take out Charlie Kirk and I'm going to take it." His partner panicked, texted back, "You weren't the one who did it, right? Question mark, question mark, question mark, question mark." And Robinson answered bluntly, "I am. I'm sorry." When the roommate pressed him, quote, "I thought they caught the person," Robinson explained. "No, they grabbed some crazy old dude, then interrogated someone in similar clothing. I had planned to grab my rifle from the drop point shortly after, but most of that side of town got locked down." And then came the motive, as raw as it gets. "I had enough of his hatred. Some hate can't be negotiated out." The text also revealed how calculated this was. Robinson admitted he had been planning it for a bit over a week, I believe. He worried about evidence, telling his lover, "I had to leave it in a bush where I changed outfits. Might have to abandon it and hope they don't find prints. How the fuck will I explain losing it to my old man?" Talking about the gun that was allegedly his grandfather's. And then, perhaps the most bizarre piece of all, proof of just how warped this plot had become. Quote, "Remember how I was engraving bullets? The fucking messages are mostly a big meme. If I see notices bulge, ooh ooh, on Fox News, I might have a stroke." Then Robinson wrote, "You are all I worry about, love." To which his partner replied, "I'm much more worried about you." And I will note the rampant accusations of conspiracy that I've seen online with regards to these texts. So many of the top comments on news outlet videos of this are people essentially saying that it's too convenient. That's not how young people text, and basically accusing the FBI of doctoring these messages. And I really have no comment on this, and I don't know anything about the politics of these commenters. I'm just sharing what people are saying. If anything, this just underscores how much distrust there is for the government. But then, just when it seemed like this story couldn't twist any further, a new thread unraveled. Fox News reported that FBI Director Kash Patel told senators the investigation has widened, way beyond Tyler Robinson. According to Patel, federal agents have uncovered a Discord chat room linked to Robinson, a space that on the surface looked like just another gaming hangout. But once investigators got inside, they realized Robinson wasn't alone. There were more than 20 other people in there, talking, joking, posting, and now every one of them is being looked at. The FBI has already served legal papers to Discord, pulling chat logs to see who said what and when. Patel didn't give names, but he admitted that agents are trying to determine whether anyone in the server encouraged Robinson, knew about his plans, or even egged him on. And the emergence of this Discord information has led to a lot of speculation about things like an underground trans terror network. Like maybe the people Robinson was talking to were in on the crime. But as of this recording, there is no evidence of anyone's involvement but him. And while the whole transgender lover angle really makes it seem like a left on right crime, with absolutely no relation to the Groypers, other people note that in these nihilistic online 4chan spaces, sexuality often doesn't matter. The beliefs shared in these spaces often feel very fringe and conflicting to people on both the right and the left. I mean, there are the persistent claims that Groyper leader Nick Fuentes is gay and has had sexual relations with many different men in the Groyper sphere. He doesn't really quash the rumors when he says things like having sex with women is gay, and hangs out and takes pictures with famous femboy streamer Catboy Cammy. And you might wonder, what does a femboy have in common with a super right-wing internet leader? The answer will surprise you. Apparently, there's actually a pretty tight link between the femboy culture and the alt-right. And we're talking way past Donald Trump and Charlie Kirk. Like, remember that a lot of these people actually hate Donald Trump and Charlie Kirk. But Catboy Cammy himself is known as an alt-right streamer, dressing up in thigh-high socks and cat ears while sharing his extremely right-wing views. This was interesting to me because I would think of a man dressing up as a sexy cat in lingerie to be something very historically left-leaning. But sometimes life is just one big contradiction, I guess. I mean, we just have to accept that. But to really understand how we got here, with the bullet engraving memes and their supposed connection to the femboys, furries, and the alt-rights, we have to go a little bit deeper into the internet's basement. We have to look at 4chan. If you've never set foot there, 4chan is like the Wild West of the internet. Launched in 2003 by a 15-year-old kid who just wanted a space to talk about Japanese anime, it quickly became something much darker. People could say anything, post anything, and walk away completely anonymous. But before you accuse me of railing against 4chan, I actually have spent some time on 4chan myself because some very interesting stories and leaks have originated on the platform. In today's society where everything is tracked, I do see the importance of having anonymous message boards. So just a disclaimer, okay? Remember, I'm sharing the facts and the theories, not my opinion. But anyway, out of the 4chan anonymous chaos came memes. If you've laughed at a lolcat, gotten rickrolled, or posted a troll face rage comic or doge meme, you've brushed up against 4chan's legacy. It was a meme factory, pumping out viral jokes at industrial speed, but alongside the harmless jokes came something else: trolling, shock content. The site's most infamous board was /B, the random board where anything goes. But over time, another board rose to prominence: /Poll, short for politically incorrect, and Poll became the breeding ground for something new. It became a bunch of anonymous edgelords competing to outdo each other with the most offensive joke, the edgiest meme, the most taboo take. That's how memes like the ooh bulge one spread like wildfire. Making fun of furries was a favorite pastime of people in these circles. And here's the thing. On 4chan, you can never quite tell if someone's serious. A Nazi meme might be a joke making fun of neo-Nazis, or it might be 100% serious. Or it might be both at the same time. But you know what other community spent a lot of time on 4chan? Femboys. And somehow these cultures intermingled in a way that seems to defy everything I thought I knew about politics. So, I've seen the term accelerationism used to describe a lot about the 4chan poll board ideology. It's the belief that society is broken beyond repair and that the best way to fix it is to make everything collapse so that it can be born again. Push chaos, speed up collapse, and a new order will emerge. And we've seen the consequences of this ideology spill into real life. The Christchurch shooter in New Zealand live streamed his massacre like it was a video game, and laced his manifesto with memes straight from 4chan's cousin 8chan's poll message board. The Poway synagogue shooter dropped a poll-inspired screed before opening fire. Again and again, mass shooters have left digital fingerprints linking their violence back to this memified internet culture. The shitpost becomes inseparable from the act itself. The violence becomes the shitpost. Which brings us back to Charlie Kirk. When authorities revealed that the shooter had engraved the memes on the bullet casings, people who knew 4chan recognized the fingerprints. But what if 4chan really had nothing to do with this, and Tyler Robinson just saw some memes on Reddit or freaking Facebook and thought that they were funny? The whole Groyper narrative seems to have gotten way out of control with very little hard evidence to back it up. Right now, all we know for sure is that he had a transgender lover. He hated Charlie Kirk and he liked memes and Discord. But this story is far from over, and what we're getting to next is even more insane than anything I've shared with you so far. Just as everyone was starting to wrap their heads around the bullet casings in the transgender roommate, darker whispers started to trend. Other corners of the internet asked, what if Tyler Robinson didn't have a motive at all? What if he wasn't even involved? What if he was innocent, a convenient decoy, arrested to cover up a much bigger conspiracy? And that's where Candace Owens comes crashing into this story like the Kool-Aid Man. Candace Owens is no stranger to controversy. An extremely popular conservative commentator, she made her name as one of MAGA's fiercest culture warriors who thrives on confrontation. Once a rising star at the Daily Wire, she broke from some on the right after her public conversion to Catholicism and her increasingly vocal criticisms of Israel. Owens positioned herself as the kind of figure who didn't just fight culture wars, she lived them. And Owens wasn't some distant colleague of Charlie Kirk. She called him one of her closest friends, and you can see that clearly in the Instagram compilation she posted of their adventures together. Many people online in left-wing circles are talking about how these images have humanized Charlie Kirk in a way that nothing else had to them. She clearly loved him. Within hours of Kirk's assassination, Candace Owens wasn't just grieving, she was mobilizing. Tearful tributes filled her feeds. Raw videos where her voice cracked, her eyes were red. I mean, she's clearly very distraught. Yet, spliced between the morning posts were grainy clips of rooftop footage, questions about strange confessions, speculation about why Robinson surrendered so quickly, why certain details were released and others withheld. In real time, Owens turned her grief into a mission. She announced that she was launching her own full-scale investigation into Kirk's death, and she made one thing very clear. She does not buy the official story. For Owens, the clean narrative, a lone shooter, a clear motive, case closed, was too simple and too neat. She suggested something more sinister, that Kirk may have been targeted not because of his feud with the Groypers or even his conservative beliefs, but because he had begun to quietly distance himself from Israel, a position that clashed with powerful interests inside the conservative movement. Owens hinted that Kirk had expressed his doubts in private and that his death might have been an inside job. To her fans, this was explosive, but to her critics, it was reckless. Let's break down some of her most compelling claims so you can decide for yourself. First, we have George Zinn, 71, who was filmed telling police, "I shot him," immediately after Charlie Kirk was killed. Then later, he said he only claimed responsibility to draw attention away from the real suspect. He was arrested for obstruction and released and cleared of the killing entirely. But Candace had questions. If Zinn wasn't the shooter, then why say it? To help someone get away? To throw off the scent from a larger setup? She doesn't know. And something even weirder is that George Zinn was apparently rearrested for having child sexual abuse material on his phone, which is causing even more speculations about how pedophiles may be involved in this whole weird mess. Like, bruh, what the hell is going on? Anyway, clips like this one I'm about to show you have been going viral and fueling the fire even more. In it, it appears to show a student or young man being interviewed by reporters immediately after the shooting, before being forcefully pulled away and silenced with some kind of altercation ensuing. Okay, so here it is.
I was standing from probably the third row in the bottom. I saw hit, I heard the shot ring out. I looked to my left, and then I looked over to my right. I saw him slump over in his chair forward. He slumped over. He had blood coming from the left side of his neck, down his shirt, and he slumped over and he was carried off.
Jeff, we're not doing it. I'm sorry. Yeah, brother.
Get off me!
We're not
Get off me!
Emotions are running high right now.
And this looks weird. People are asking the question, who didn't want him to talk and why? And then there's Candace's motive. In the last 2 years, she'd broken with parts of the right over her criticisms of Israel. And now she's suggesting that Kirk had also been turning on Israel near the end of his life, and that powerful allies didn't like it. While Kirk had previously been pro-Israel and even said things like Palestine doesn't exist, we can see in this clip where he voiced some more seemingly pro-Palestine, anti-Israel rhetoric.
But the fact is now Bibi and the Israeli hard right government has a mandate. I gotta be careful the way I say this. They're gonna try to ethnically cleanse Gaza.
Yep.
I mean, I don't use that term lightly, okay?
According to Owens and many on the internet, Charlie Kirk was waking up to the atrocities being committed by Israel in Gaza. Owens described a tense Hampton sit-down with billionaire Bill Ackman and Babylon Bee's Seth Dillon, which she called an intervention, where big threats were made to Charlie. Big money was dangled, and even a call from Benjamin Netanyahu invited Kirk to come to Israel for what she characterized as a last-chance reset or conversion camp. Ackman publicly denied her account as totally false. Netanyahu said the claims were insane, of course. And federal officials say that they currently believe Robinson acted alone, as we already know. But Candace is alleging that this is all one big cover-up. And whether you think she's just blowing smoke or blowing the whistle, there's no denying that audiences love a mystery, especially one that promises the story behind the story. Her investigation is going extremely viral, with so many people agreeing with her on both sides, despite all the evidence that is being officially released about the case. And Candace isn't alone in speculating that something bigger is going on here. Millions and millions of people have viewed and liked videos about somewhere called Goat Island. I'm going to play a clip.
These connections keep getting weirder and weirder. So right at the end of this press conference where Kash Patel announces that they caught Charlie Kirk's killer, Tyler Robinson, Kash Patel ends it with Charlie Kirk, I'll see you in Valhalla.
Lastly, to my friend Charlie Kirk, rest now, brother. We have the watch, and I'll see you in Valhalla.
Now, what's interesting is that one of the pictures that they put out of Tyler Robinson shows Tyler Robinson in his bedroom next to his computer. On the computer is a picture of an island. That island is called Goat Island, and it's located in New Zealand, that has a retreat called Valhalla. Isn't that weird?
Okay, so basically there's a picture of the alleged shooter Tyler Robinson with his desktop screensaver set to an image of what people are saying is Goat Island. And on this Goat Island is a farm called Valhalla. And people are saying that when FBI Director Kash Patel said he would, quote, see Charlie Kirk in Valhalla, he was really referring to this island and some kind of witness protection program. Some people believe that Tyler Robinson is in cahoots with the government, while some people think he's just a patsy who was framed. And of course, as in any high-profile assassination, people are suggesting that Charlie Kirk is still alive, just living his best life hidden away at Valhalla Farm on Goat Island. And if that sounds insane, that's because it is. I mean, there's no evidence of this at all. Based on the very close-up video footage of Charlie being shot, I don't think there is really any possibility that his death was faked. He's gone. Anyway, I don't want to give too much air to these Tupac-level conspiracies, but when I told you I went down the rabbit hole, this is what I mean. So, after all of this, the memes carved into bullets, the text with the transgender roommate lover, the whispers about Groypers, the theories about Israel, Goat Island, and everything in between, we're still left with questions. Was this the world's first assassination shitpost? Was Tyler Robinson a liberal and true believer in trans rights, an alt-right Nick Fuentes follower, or something stranger altogether? Or was Charlie Kirk silenced for reasons far bigger than one young man with a rifle? I've spent days pulling every thread I could find, but this story is still unraveling in real time. And now I want to hear from you. Do you think this was a lone wolf act of chaos or the tip of a deeper conspiracy? Seriously, I want to know your opinion. Drop your thoughts in the comments and hit subscribe, rate 5 stars, etc., etc. And if you want me to keep digging into the dark corners of the internet and world. It means so much to me because I'm a very new channel and like every supporter really counts. So you can also find my free Patreon at patreon.com/chillseeker and follow me on social media at @chillseekerpodcast on Instagram and @chillseekerpod on TikTok. Stay safe, stay skeptical, and stay tuned for my giveaway video coming out soon. I'll see you next time on Chill Seeker. Bye!